In 2018, Rebecca Lawson returned to her hometown of Greyford for the first time in 12 years. She told herself it was temporary. Her father had suffered a stroke, and there was no one else to take care of the old house near the coast. Her mother had passed years earlier, worn thin by grief. Greyford hadn't changed much. Same narrow streets, same quiet pier, same heavy sea air, but for Rebecca, it felt like stepping back into a wound that had never healed. Her younger sister Ellie had disappeared there, 16 years old. Walked home from a friend's house one summer night and never made it. The town searched for weeks. Woods were combed. The cliffs were scanned. The water was dragged. Nothing was found. Eventually, the town stopped looking. On her first night back, Rebecca couldn't bring herself to sleep in her own childhood bedroom. Instead, she went into Ellie's room. Their mother had left it almost untouched. The same posters, the same narrow bed. Dust lay thick across the dresser, but it still felt like Ellie might walk in at any moment. Rebecca fell asleep staring at the ceiling. At exactly 3:17 a.m., she woke. She didn't know why at first. Then she heard it. Tap. A soft knock against the window. She held her breath. Tap, tap, tap. 3 slow knocks. A pause. Then 3 more. Ellie's bedroom was on the 2nd floor. There were no trees close enough to brush against the glass. Rebecca forced herself out of bed and pulled back the curtain. The backyard was empty. The old swing set stood crooked and still. The fence cast long shadows in the moonlight. No one was there. The tapping stopped. She barely slept after that. The next day, while cleaning Ellie's bookshelf, Rebecca found something hidden behind a row of paperbacks, a small blue notebook she didn't recognize. It was Ellie's journal. At first, the entries were ordinary teenage thoughts, complaints about school, plans to leave Greyford someday. But near the end, the tone shifted. I think someone is following me. Rebecca's stomach tightened. I saw him again near the pier. He pretends not to look at me, but I know he is. The handwriting grew uneven. He was outside the house tonight. I saw him near the fence. I didn't tell Mom. She'll think I'm imagining things. The final entry was dated the night Ellie vanished. If anything happens to me, it's him. The man with the silver truck. Rebecca felt cold all over. She didn't remember Ellie mentioning a silver truck. The police had never brought it up. There was nothing about a stalker in the case files her parents kept, which meant no one had known. That evening, Rebecca drove down to the pier. The wooden boards creaked under her feet as she walked toward the dark water. The air smelled of salt and seaweed. Near the entrance, a truck was parked. Silver, old, slightly rusted along the edges. Rebecca stopped walking. The truck was empty, but something about it made her pulse quicken. She told herself it was coincidence, yet she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She drove home quickly. That night, at 3:17 a.m., the tapping returned. 3 knocks. A pause. 3 more. Rebecca rushed to the window and pulled back the curtain. This time, a man stood near the fence. He was motionless, looking up at her window. Her throat went dry. "Who are you?" she shouted. The man turned calmly and walked into the darkness beyond the yard. Rebecca called the police. They searched the area but found nothing. No footprints, no sign anyone had been there. Stress can do strange things, one officer suggested gently. Rebecca knew what she had seen. The next afternoon, she opened the front door and something slid across the floor. A photograph. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. It showed her standing on the pier the night before, taken from behind. Someone had been close enough to capture it clearly. On the back were 2 words written in black ink. "You stayed." Rebecca installed security cameras that same evening. For 2 nights, nothing happened. On the 3rd night, she woke again at 3:17 a.m. and grabbed her phone to check the camera feed. The backyard camera flickered with static for several seconds. When the image returned, something lay on the grass beneath Ellie's window. Rebecca waited until morning to go outside. It was a necklace, a small silver pendant shaped like a star. Ellie's necklace, the one she had worn the night she disappeared. It had never been recovered. Rebecca's knees nearly gave out. Someone had kept it for 12 years. Police reopened the investigation immediately. Fingerprints lifted from the photograph matched a man named Martin Hale, a former dock worker who had lived in Greyford at the time Ellie vanished. He owned a silver truck. Records showed he had moved away shortly after Ellie's disappearance and had recently returned. When police searched his property, they found a box hidden beneath the floorboards of his shed. Inside were personal items belonging to several young women, including photographs taken without their knowledge. One was of Ellie, photographed through her bedroom window. Under interrogation, Martin admitted he had been watching her for months. He followed her the night she disappeared and confronted her near the cliffs outside town. Search teams returned to the area. Days later, human remains were found buried beneath loose soil near a rocky drop-off. Dental records confirmed it was Ellie. Martin was arrested and later sentenced to life in prison. When Rebecca left Greyford weeks later, she slept one final night in her own bedroom. At 3:17 a.m., she woke. The house was silent. No tapping, no shadows, only the distant sound of waves breaking against the shore. For 12 years, the town had lived beside a monster without seeing him. Rebecca closed her eyes and understood something she would never forget. The most terrifying thing isn't the darkness. It's realizing someone has been standing just outside your window all along.